friends, and welcome to Life of Love. We have another magical episode today, and I'm so excited to introduce Charlene Byars to you. She's a relationship expert, and has certifications and just years and years of coaching, and just such depth to her commitment to relationships and living a full life of love. So, Charlene, I welcome you with an open heart, and I'm so excited to hear what you have to share. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for being here. I'm so happy to be here. We had a little pre-talk and I just love your energy and I'm really excited for this conversation.
Me too. Me
Thank you.
too. So I did get to hear a little bit about your story, but I don't want my listeners to miss out. Can you just share about your journey and how you became a relationship expert and, an empowerment specialist? I'm sure there's a little road to that. So just give us a little insight.
Okay, awesome. Yes. Let's see. So I would say that it all started from many, many, many years ago. Actually, let me take it even further back, just for a little bit. I grew up in a culture that was very disempowering for women. Both of my parents are from Cuba. So I am first generation. And so I basically, first generation, I spoke for the family. So, they didn't speak English. So my first language is actually Spanish. And when I was a little girl, my parents divorced when I was about 4 years old. And my mother went off and ended up marrying a really, what I would say, not a nice person, not a nice man. And so I saw myself as a young girl, really being in an environment that was very unhealthy. I saw, men mistreat women. I saw women yell at men. And I really never had a really good view of the kindness and love and respect, how it was for, a romantic relationship. So in my story was I grew up and, I went off. I always say you grow up and then you leave the house. It's like you come out from the jungle. You're like, okay, now what I got to go do? And so when I went off and world, I really felt like that. I was clueless, like the majority of us, right? Like I was literally clueless. I'm like, I don't even know what it is to be in a relationship. I don't even know. Like I had no idea. So I ended up attracting my first husband. And I was very young and I got married very young. Actually, I got pregnant. I got pregnant like 3 months before I graduated high school. And I remember I was with a guy who he was cool, but I ended up finding out, and I kind of knew this in the beginning anyway, but again, I didn't have, I didn't know that stuff back then. But he liked the women. So he was a player. So I married a guy who, was a player, and that didn't work out. So we, quickly divorced. And I found myself for the first time. I was young, I was single, and I had a son. And I was confused because I kept not understanding. I'm like, are all men like this? Like, are there actually like good men out there? Are do people really have good relationships? And so I started off on this adventure. So then the next guy I meet, I fall completely head over heels in love with this man. And everything in the beginning, I am not kidding you, everything in the beginning was not working. We were fighting in the beginning. We were like it was crazy. But of course, that was the man I thought I was going to marry. I was like, oh, this is because I was literally, and no offense, I was used to that type of relationships. I was used to that chaos. I had no idea about anything different. So I married this guy, and and I ended up having 4 kids with him, and we were together for like 23 years, and I was just like, this is hard. This is really, really hard because we didn't have peace and we weren't having harmony. And there was moments, of course, that we had, some fun and we had peace and we had harmony. But I really would say the most part, the overall relationship was hostile, was really hostile. So I found myself married in this relationship and we ended up going to counseling. We ended up being in counseling for about 10 years, in and out. And what I call it because if you're not going to the right person, it can really keep you stuck, because I call it the NIP. it was the nail in the coffin because it was because I don't believe in when we're going now, especially what I'm doing now. That's why I'm so passionate about this work, because I didn't believe, back then, that the counselor that was dealing with us kept us in the same fight for 10 years. It was weird. So it was completely disempowering. It was not cool. So I decided for myself, even though I started changing and I started maturing and I started growing up and I started acting different with him, like I really did, but he wasn't going to act different with me. And he chose not to. And so I left. And then I found myself again being a single woman now with, all these kids and feeling very confused, scared, and not really understanding, like, maybe it's not in the cards for me. Maybe relationships are not in the card for me. And, but then things shifted and I got to work. Because then I started realizing I was fascinated of the reality was like, are there good relationships? Are there good men? Can people really have relationships that can be epic? Can people really have relationships that can grow and, thrive? And I found out that yes, they can, and yes, it's possible, and yes, it's all there. So that's how my journey started, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm doing the work I'm doing, is to really help people understand that relationships are amazing, and if they're not amazing, something's not right. So I hope I answered the question.
You totally did. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, what a road. And to me, it was like, and congratulations too. I honor.
Thank you.
I call it a voyage. You're on this quest. It's like there's something more and I need to find it. And I can relate because I felt unseen in my relationship, and I felt like we were just going through the motions, and I wanted more attention, but in my mind it was like, oh, I'm just going to hold back attention and then it'll give me more attention. Mm-hmm. But that's not how energy works, right? And once I started learning about energy.
Was it always like that in your relationship? Like when you first met because you just said you went through a stage that you didn't have that energy and that attention, right? So how was it in that relationship that you're in now from the beginning? I'm really curious.
Well, that's a great question, Charlene, because in the beginning it's great because your hormones are going, you're young, you're sexy, you don't have kids, you don't have, our families were not near us. We just had each other. And we were inseparable the first 2 years, just inseparable. Mm-hmm. And then we get the family dynamics. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like we've had 3 different marriages. We've had our marriage before kids and then kids, and I guess that's when it started.
Yep.
I love to recognize that we are awesome parents. We are a team and we've always been awesome parents. And so we focused on the kids, but forgot about ourselves so much.
Yeah. And so you guys were focusing on the kids for so many years, and you've gone through stages, and then you found yourself at a stage with your husband that you guys were not aligned, right? You guys, like, you were not aligned and things were just not at flow anymore.
Yeah. Right. And it was never like, we'd have little fights. We didn't have big fights. I'm going to tell you, we didn't have big fights until I started spiritually waking up. And then all of a sudden this Isis energy, this strong feminine warrior started coming out of me when I tapped into my energy. And I remember the day I was laying on the floor doing these yoga moves and my Kundalini was like, whoa. And I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. Right? Like that first time you feel that shoot of energy come up through your spine and you're like, oh my God. and I'm like, I need to share this with my husband because this is awesome, right?
I don't know if this is too personal because you went there. When that happened to me, I found myself, because I had such an awakening that it was so intense for me that I couldn't release the energy. I was like, what just happened to me? So I completely understand with this. urge of energy, this sexuality, this, it just opened up. And I remember calling, I was dealing with I have this beautiful, beautiful lady, she's a shaman. And I remember I called her and I was like, Pixie,
Mm-hmm.
what is happening to me? And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, Charlene, and she explained that to me with the energy. So that's really neat that you're bringing that up. So you go through this shift in energy, and then what happened?
He realized I was showing up different for him, but never talked about it. Didn't
He didn't talk
it.
about it.
We were like having these amazing moments, and he wasn't even like, what's going on? It was like, don't you feel like we should talk about this? Like,
Have a conversation here? Because you gotta have a conversation.
So, yeah.
So what'd you do?
Well,
what happened?
So, like, dark nights of the soul. Like, I had to run through these things, and I was like,
yeah.
And I had done like a energy clearing with crystals and my angel lady, and I never told him exactly what I did. He was at work, and I was doing my thing.
Oh, you didn't tell?
I didn't tell him. So,
okay. Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, picking fights with him because I needed to be seen. I needed to be heard. I needed to have conversations. And he's like, well,
what was going on with you at the time? Now looking back, because how long ago was this?
Like 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
Long time ago?
But it's always a process, and things will resurface. But we've come to a really good place now. Like, we've gone through the forest and the lightning storms, and so I'm like,
she's like, we've gone through all of it. Yeah, I know what that is to go through all those things. That's crazy. I understand.
Emotional like detox. I mean, that's a real thing. Yes. And I had done so much work, and I was like, are you not even going to acknowledge, and so I guess that's why we started fighting so much, because my soul needed to be heard, and I needed to share this with him, but I wasn't sure how to share it because he's not a spiritual person. He's intuitive, like he feels things, but he doesn't. We're on a different path, and that's okay, because I love him unconditionally. Like, and that's a huge thing, to be just like showing up in a relationship.
Heterosexual relationship, right? Yeah. And that's true. It's not only that's perfect that you said that, because it's not only that you had your own, awakening and spiritual thing. You're a woman. And men and women process their stuff completely different, and that's awesome, right? Because we're actually different species. So usually when a woman is going through her awakening, her understanding, her stuff, a lot of times the man, it's no fault to the guy, but they can't even relate because it's just a different process, right? Yeah. They're like, I don't know what is going on.
Yeah, totally. So I'm like, trying to make this connection. I'm like, there's more to life. We need to wake up, and so he's like, what's going on? Why are we not getting along? And I was like, well, we could go to therapy, but let me just share. Let me just, and I was just brutally honest, like you said, microscopically honest. I was. That I feel like I'm giving spiritually, physically, and I feel like you're just showing up, and I need more. And if you can't go on this road with me, then I don't think it's going to work. And it came down to, do you want to recommit? Do we want to make this the relationship we want? Or do we want to say,
we had a good run, it's over, right? And what did he say? You picked the right guy, huh?
Right.
Because what did he say?
He's like, because he was just like, no, I want to be here for you. So we had to do some honest, we had to be really honest.
Yeah.
Like, he was giving energy to things that were of darkness and repression. And I had to talk to him about the darkness and the repression and this. So we had some very, very difficult talks.
Yep. You had to get raw and real. You have to get raw and real. You have to get raw and real.
Oh, yeah. Runny nose.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Runny nose, puffy eyes. You got to do it. If you, and I know that he's a good person, and I know that that's so good. But you know what? If it wasn't, I just put it all out there. I'm like, this is what I need. And either we can do that or not. And I love you and I respect you. And I know you're a good person. This is not an attack on you. This is just me. and who I've become. Mm-hmm.
Right. But you're like, are you going to come along? Because the way that we're doing our relationship and the way that things
Mm-hmm.
are now is just not going to work for me anymore. And I'm not going to be in a relationship with, a person that is not connecting with me anymore because I'm changing, I'm growing, I'm maturing. And that's what happens. That's what happens in relationships. You'll have one
Mm-hmm.
person grow and mature and the other one doesn't. And when the other person has their awakening and they decide to go inwards and they decide to do some work and learn and understand themselves and they grow, then they turn around and the other person is
Mm-hmm.
still the same. So what you did was exactly what needs to happen if you're in a long-term relationship. So good for you. You did the work yourself and you went inward yourself, which is the only thing you could have done. And then once you did that, you decided to share that with him and you decided to ask him if
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to do this with you or do it in his own way, right? And what you found was you found a man that was actually willing to do that because you weren't going to,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that you were never going to
No.
be able to
And
make
I
him do
gave it to
anything.
him. Yeah, and it was scary to be like, is
Is
this
that
the
true?
end? Because here it
You gave it
is.
to him.
But it takes a lot of
Right.
honesty. Mm-hmm.
It takes 100% honesty, but you felt that way because you didn't want to do the way that you were
Right.
doing relationship
And
anymore
I was
because you were waking
very,
up.
and maybe that's why I didn't catch on to certain things the first 15 years of our marriage, because I wasn't totally alert. And so, yeah, and I wasn't sensitive to the
You weren't awake.
subtleties. I was, we go through life and we're just checking boxes and we think that we have these ideas about how to be happy and how to have a, I
Yep.
quote, successful life. And, it's all about knowing your love and your joy and how you want to show up. And that takes a lot of soul searching. So I wanted you to
100%.
share. Yeah. How do you, I got through this process just because I prayed and I had intuition about it. But tell me, how do you help women that you help with to find their divine feminine?
Yeah, I'll share a little bit of mine because I was in your situation and this could be really relatable for, people listening right now because we have two stories here. You have a story of a lady that was in a long-term relationship with a man. Cuz how long you guys been with each other?
We just had if total 24 years. And that we got married after 2 years. Mm-hmm.
That's fabulous. So I did too. So you have one person, right? That's a great story that was in a long-term relationship and for 23 years and she has gone through what relationships go through. I call it the wave. It's life. It's just stages of life. That's reality. Okay? Stages of life. So you're going through the stages of life, but then you found yourself like really not connecting, feeling, disempowered in your own relationship. So you went inward and you did the work first on yourself. And you had this amazing awakening. And then once you awoke and you're like, hi, hi, are you coming along? Well, that happened to me. So I was married and I was the same thing. So I was married to mine for 23 years. I was so into this guy. I was so in love with him. I was so attracted to him. I never wanted to leave. I wanted to grow old with him and die. And so I'm with him and we're fighting and things are not aligned. And we had the kids and we're doing life and the kids and, and marriages go through stages. And when you're raising young kids, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And it's a lot of time, concentrating on the family and the kids. And there's only enough time in a day. So we were doing that. And that was the stage of life that we were in for many years. And so what I realized with mine, I did the work. I went inwards and I really started understanding myself and I started understanding my beliefs and I understanding, my childhood and I started understanding and learning maturity and I started really understanding, emotional intelligence. And I started truly from the bottom of my heart, completely just like you, showing up different. And I sat mine down too. And I asked him, hi. You know what I mean? Like, let me tell you what I'm learning. Like, did you see me changing and all this stuff? Are you willing? Because I love you, but we can't do relationships like this anymore because we fought all the time and he was very disrespectful and it was, it was bad. And so he just looked at me and pretty much was like, "We're good." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. So you don't want to get help?" Because he had anger. He had a lot of anger management, and mine too had, other things that he was doing that was not good for me in my relationship. That computer, this is back in. I mean, come on, this was when the internet started. You can only imagine, like this is a long time ago, and he got he had his addictions, and he would go in stages, but he personally, you can't make a person change. So I'm telling you, your situation is beautiful because your partner decided to also be receptive, because your partner could have done what my partner did and said, "No, it's okay. I'm not changing who I am. This is as good as I'm going to be. Like it or not, Missy." That's what he told me. This is who I am.
You know what's such a gift, because he was honest with you. That was such a gift. So you could be like, you had that choice. You had the choice point of saying, cool.
But you know what? I didn't want that. You know what I mean? I didn't want that.
You don't want wanted to hear.
No, you don't want to be with someone for 23 years and build a life together and be in love and have 4 kids, and they don't want to change. And they still want to treat you so disrespectfully and so unkind and talk to you however he wanted to talk to me, yell at me, scream at me, whatever he wanted to do. It was totally fine. And I was just supposed to be like, "Oh, that's so wonderful." No.
Right.
That doesn't work like that. Because he would keep yelling and I wouldn't yell back anymore. And he would be physical and I wasn't physical anymore. So you can't change a person. That person can only decide to do the work and change themselves. And that's okay. So that's why I realize that, you got to really now, and especially if if you have had relationships in the past before, and this is not your second time, this is not your first time. Because I'm 50 years old. I don't know how old you are, but I'm not talking about first time marriages. I'm talking about the reality of people in life, and I don't know about you, but I knew for me, if I was going to continue on being in a marriage, I don't feel like I owe anybody my life. I don't feel like I owe anybody. I never felt like you have to do anything. That's why I love empowerment. That's why I'm an empowerment coach for women. Because empowerment is about choices. It's about choices. We have choices. We actually can live our own life, and we can actually decide who we want to have in our lives. And so that's why I do what I'm doing right now. And I'm remarried, and I went inwards. I really did. I went inwards, and I did a lot of work, because if I was ever going to go and get married again, I was thinking there's no way I want to do that. And unless we have true alignment. So we've been together we've been married 6 years. And in those 6 years, we've gone through life just like anybody else. Like life happens, right? Life will happen no matter what. Life is going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. You'll be driving in the car, and all of a sudden, boom, you're going to get in a car accident. And you're like, damn, life happens. Things just happen, right? It's out of your control sometimes. But what I realize now in this relationship, it's real. It's different. You have 2 people now willing to, what I call, look at their BS. Look at their BS. You have 2 people right now not putting like my stuff or his stuff on each other. So it's actually really respectful. It's really kind. It's sexy. It's fun. And that's what I believe relationships are supposed to be.
I agree. And that the idea that you can be curious with somebody and just explore and just have that best friend, and you might have days where you need support and they have days where you're stepping up. But tell me about the strong masculine. You talk about attracting that strong masculine. Is it because you're attracting that because you're in your divine feminine, the polar attraction, or what? How do you coach for that?
That's a great question. Try to explain that one to you. Okay. The second time, so when I leave the ex-husband, so now I'm in a position, I'm a single mom, I'm older, I have a very go job. So I was a sales trainer, and I dealt with a lot of men, and I dealt with a lot of I had to call the shots, it was just my position. I had to call the shots. I had to make decisions. I had to like, boom, I was the boss. I'm teaching people how to make money. I'm teaching people how to sell. So it was kind of cutthroat. So what happened was, you see me, I'm going, so I was a very successful businesswoman. So I have my own home. I live here in like, really nice area, Scottsdale, Arizona. It's not cheap. And so I'm like on my own. I'm a single mom, 4 kids, working full time. I have my own, I do all of it. I have the house. I'm taking care of, the things that are breaking. I'm doing the grocery. I'm doing the cooking. I was a one woman show. And that's how it was. I'm the single woman. So time goes by. And then finally, Mama Bear was like, you know what, maybe we should try this dating thing. You need a little, because you're working so hard and you're doing so much. Maybe you need a little fun. So you're not going to believe what happened. So I go start to date. And I'm not kidding you. I knew something was up because I was stuck what I call in this loop. And I really was. I was either attracting men that they would like just honestly like want to just sleep with me. I'm like, oh, I don't want that. What? I'm more to that, No, they were like, oh, no. It was like the swipe. Hello, next. I'm like, oh gosh. Okay, no, bye. Or, oh, I'm not kidding you. Or I was attracting men that I was so not attracted to. They were so nice. They were such people pleasers. They literally there's a book. It's called Nice Guys. So Nice Guys is an actual thing. And it is the biggest turnoff for a woman. At first, women think they want this. They do. They're like, oh, he's, he's so into me. He's like, he was always like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What do you want? And I'm like, oh, I can make all this decision. He had no opinion. These guys had no opinion on anything. And I started as a woman. I'm like, I already raised boys. I have boys. Because remember, I told you I have like a 30-year-old and a 20. I was like, I'm not raising a man. What the? You can't raise it. So that was really a turnoff. They really were attracted to me being the boss. They didn't want to do shit. They just wanted to just like, okay, no, women don't want that. That was not fun. So what I realized was I didn't know this. And there's nothing wrong with this. But I, as a woman, because I was go. And I'm like busy. I'm going. I was running in such masculine energy. I was all masculine. I mean, I was, masculine is very thinking, very, you're solving the problems. You're very focused. You're very still. You have a direction, you get the job done. It's beautiful energy, right? But what happened was I had that same energy in business. And then Miss Charlene would just go ahead and take that same energy when she was trying to date. And that was not working for me because the men that I actually was attracted to were masculine men. And what I realized with a masculine man and what that means by the energies, it's just to explain the spectrum and the energies. Okay. Those are the men that didn't want to compete with me. They didn't want to compete with me. Those were the men that are actually solid and they were completely emotionally available. They know what they want in their lives. They're actually looking for a really solid woman so they can, have alignment. Those were the men that I realized when a man's in his masculine energy, he has direction. He will lead. He will court you. He will pursue. He will chase you. He will do all the things that, women want to feel, right? He would do all the things they want to feel. But those type of men will not be attracted to a masculine woman. Just like me being a feminine woman. I'm not, even though I'm operating as work, in my masculine, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just learning how to shift your energy. But my true nature as a woman is feminine. And when I learned how to shift my energy, I was able to really start attracting completely different energy of men. So I went from, kind of attracting what I was telling you was attracting to really, truly attracting like it was kind of weird. All of a sudden, they were coming out of the woodwork. So I'm like, what the? And this is so funny as a woman too. You know how like we're so concerned sometimes as we look, especially if you're dating. We're always like, oh, am I too this? Am I too that? What I learned is the way that we think ourselves, like the way we look at ourselves, the opposite sex looks at us completely different. And so I didn't understand. So I thought, did I change? Did I physically? What happened? And it wasn't. It had nothing to do with me. It really had to do with my energy. And I remember when I started shifting the energy, and there's other things that I've had to do. So I'm just giving you the masculine, the feminine. But and I remember men would actually say to me, it was really cool. They were like, I really like they were kind of like this. I was kind of like a mystery to them. They're like, I really they said this all the time to me after I shifted. They're like, I really love your energy. Because my energy went from masculine, which I would be on dates, like a job interview. Blah, 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 like I was thinking, asking all the questions. The guys were like, "What the hell is up with this lady?" To completely relaxing, letting go, chilling out, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just dating. I'm just getting to know different people. I'm not getting married today. I'm not going to be sleeping with this guy. I want to see what he's about. And so that's how it started shifting for me.
That is such a beautiful story. And that's a great way to describe it, because it's real life, and it really is energy. And I don't, if women understood that men do see us differently, it frees you up to be yourself, and to not sweat that, the gray hair or the little extra around the belt line. You don't sweat that, because it's about how they want to be people just want to be seen. And I think it's universal. Men, women, we just want to be seen and recognized for how we're showing up, even if, so I think there's a little misconception about feminine energy and masculine, and I'm just going to reflect with you a little.
No, there's not little. There's a big misconception.
Let's talk about it.
So this is what's happening. So the misconception is that the feminine is weak. The feminine is weak. That the feminine is not as powerful as the masculine. Let me just say something. Let me break this for the record. The masculine energy and the feminine energy are both so powerful that you need both. So, right, they're so powerful, they're so beautiful. And what's interesting about energies, and if you look at them in a spectrum, because the masculine and the feminine energies, it's not gender specific. It's not gender specific. But the reality is that the majority of the men really do honestly identify with masculine. Okay, majority. The majority of the women really do identify with the feminine. So I have a question that I ask women. And this is how I can really find out if a woman is really a feminine essence woman. And she's just operating on her masculine. Because when I ask women these questions, I've asked this question to so many women, and I always pretty much get the same answers. They come in, sometimes they come in different ways a little bit, but they're pretty much the same answer. So when I'm talking about romantic relationships, and if we're talking about a heterosexual woman, and you're like, okay, what is the feminine and the masculine energy, and what is that like? So this is the question I ask women. I said, okay, this is how you're going to know what energy you really identify with. When you think of a romantic relationship and you're thinking of being with a man, how do you want to feel? So we're going to slow this down. How do you actually want to feel in the relationship? So when women take a pause, and usually this is fascinating for me. A lot of times they don't even know how to feel right now, because they have really blocked the feeling. Okay. And so women either have a hard time a little bit with that question, or they don't. Okay. But when I help them also, if they're having a hard time with that question, I do an exercise to drop them back into the body. But let me give you what I hear from most of it. So one of the questions women would tell me, they're like, Charlene, I really want to feel safe, seen, taken care of, alignment. Like I don't want to be in a relationship with a man and not feel safe. And I'm not just talking physical, you know what I mean? I'm talking emotional. because there's a lot of emotional abusive people out there. So that's very important for a woman. They really want to feel that safeness. And one of the things I'm hearing all the time is a woman's like, Charlene, I want to be seen. I want a man to want me. I don't want a man that's wishy-washy. I want a man that is like, I'm his woman. Like, he knows I'm his woman. And so I know when women start talking to me like this, I understand this. I'm like, oh my gosh, she is definitely she relates more to the feminine essence, which is all about feminine energy. Is truly, it's so powerful because it gets out of the head and it gets back into the body, into your intuition. Okay, and into your core, into your womb, into where, like, this is where we can really understand ourselves. And feminine energy is about receiving, is about letting go. We don't want to be, and when you're in a feminine energy, our beauty is our wildness, our free, our flow, right? We don't want to be like a workhorse. We don't want to be go 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 do. That is not being in your feminine. So learning how to just shift energies and really understanding the dynamics in that, because if you really are attracted to that, and you're a woman that was like me, continue on operating in that masculine energy, you're not going to receive what you truly long for, which was I truly long for. I really truly long for a man to want me, to court me, to pursue me, to be like, I want to be your man. You want to be my girlfriend? You know what I mean? Like, for real. And I'm like, yes. That to me was sexy. I wanted a man to take me. You know what I mean? Like literally, like, pick me up. So that's the masculine. The masculine energy. The masculine energy has room for that. They are drawn to that. That's what they truly, truly long for.
And to honor that in the men in our world, that appreciation, the idea that you see them showing up for you in the way, like, just the simple thing, like, you're my hero, like, things like that. It's just like, you don't understand how much that means to a man. And sometimes, well, in my past, I found myself withholding because I wasn't getting what I expected. So I thought if I withheld, I'd get more attention. And it doesn't really, energy doesn't work that way. You have to sort of put out what you want to receive. And I hear you saying it's the strong feminine, and it's not like little me and, a little parasol. It's energy, and
it's sexy as hell. Let me tell you. I'm telling you. Because who has time to not be themselves? That's exhausting. If you can't be who you are and you can't just be, that's exhausting. Like, that's never going to work. If you're going to be in a relationship, you're going to meet somebody else and you're not showing up, like, you're not showing up in your true authentic self, then that's not going to work. It's just not going to work. So truly understanding that, there's two people to a relationship. There's just two people. And it really comes down to, like, the yin and the yang, the night and the day. That's the polarity. That's the dance. That's the dance. That's the sexiness. That's the, like, because if you're not having that, you have a friendship. You have a friendship. If you have two people, two women, so you and I are both in our feminine energies, right? For an example, you and I are not going to be lovers. We're going to be friends. I adore you. You adore me. We're going to really connect, but I'm not going to be romantically attracted to you, because our energies are not this. Our energies are like two females, two feminine. And remember this. This actually is so cool, because even if you are gay, there's always polarity. There's always polarity. There's more masculine energy. There's more feminine energy. It's all good. It's all good. But that's what it's about.
You just read my mind. I was thinking that the same. I'm like, yeah, that's, different relationship types also reflect it. And it's so obvious when you look at through that lens of who's masculine, who's feminine. And it does shift. I mean, sometimes you do shift into more masculine, and I always come back to, it's just, be curious about how to be happy. Be curious about what lights you up, and then share it.
That's really good that you said that. When I say, like, being able to be curious about yourself, being able to self-reflect, being able to really understand what's going on with you. And the work that I do now, I do it off of a framework, because what I've learned is that it's layers, right? So really understanding, and when we're talking about like the romantic relationship, really understanding, of course, at first polarity and what that means. But one of the things that have been crucial, and I believe that every human being should do the deep work, should truly do the deep work, is the second modality that I teach, because I really have to understand your beliefs and what you truly believe as a woman, what you truly believe. Because if a woman is looking to find a soul aligned partner and she's understanding energies, that's the first part. But you have to understand, what is it that you truly believe? Because if you really truly that all men are not good, there's no good men out there, then that's exactly what is going to continue on coming to you, because we mirror what we believe. It's the law of energy. So if we believe that men are not good, if we have not really looked in our past and our belief system, because our belief systems come from, as you know, from childhood. Our belief systems get wired in our system from childhood, literally from birth until 7 years old. So it's all going to be dependent on your belief system, dependent on when you were born. What environment did you were born to? Did you actually have like a mother and father that were loving and kind, and the environment that you were when you first started as a baby and started your nervous system started happening? Or did you get an environment where there was a lot of screaming and chaos and your nervous system started reacting to all of that? Because that will really shape truly what you believe about yourself and relationships, and what you end up attracting for a romantic partner. Because if we don't do the work, we will attract what we believe. And that's what I did. That's what I did. I told you about my history. Yes, I told you about my past and how it happened in my childhood. So all I knew was men were this way. And it's not true. Not all men were the way that I believed that men were. So all I kept attracting was the same type of men. So what did they do? They always were able to see, like, see, told you, men are that way. You know what I mean? Because that's what I believed. So I had work. I did, because your beliefs will shape. You know what I mean? Like literally, like that's how it works. So I always tell women, do the deep work. Find out what is it that you really believe, and what is it that how you are showing up. How are you showing up? Because you have patterns. I tell women, you have patterns. You got to find out those patterns. Mm-hmm. You really do.
Yeah, and you're activating it. You're inspiring them to really look at it, and it's like a whole Pandora's box. It's like there's so much.
Get curious about our patterns and why we do what we're doing. Yep. Yeah. Because when you do, when you're, it's true, because one, it frees everything. So once you learn your beliefs and you're able to reframe them, and you can find out, oh, okay, I really don't believe that, because you have, that's the work. When it's a process. So you have to find out what is it that you believe, and then you do the work to find out, oh, that's not necessarily true. So it's reframing it. So it's basically like unlearning. A lot of us have to unlearn, because a lot of us are walking around thinking, certain things that are not true. A lot of us truly believe that relationships are hard.
No, because we have this backpack of all this baggage from everything, from, like you said, from birth all the way up, and you have to unload the bag. You got to let it go. And that's the beautiful thing about energy work, is like, take this pain, take this hurt, and transmute it, send it out to some entity that can use it, but it's not for you anymore. And just owning your own energy space is so empowering. And I love that you're talking with your clients about this dynamic, because it is, you can think about it all you want, but until you feel it and release it, it'll hang out. Your brain will hold on to it.
And absolutely. And not only that work. So what I've learned also, so I have like I said, remember I told you, just have a framework that I've done this work. So I'm a certified empowerment coach. So we really go deep. We go deep. We coach from the body. So we go deep into the layers. And so one of the things that I told you that I learned, a lot of women have a hard time going back into the body, learning how to feel, learning how to have an emotion and allowing it to go through. So the third thing that I've done is I learned feminine embodiment. And feminine embodiment is a practice that I'm certified in. And it is life changing because this practice really allows a woman to, after she's able to go inwards and do the work with the belief system, she's able to go back into herself. So feminine embodiment is a form of meditation, but it's a movement meditation. And it's a process. Yes, so it's a process of 4 steps. So it is how you do feminine, because what I realized too for women, meditation in general, meditation is amazing, but it's very masculine. It's very still and it's very in the head. And I notice with women, we carry a lot of frozen tension in our body. So talk therapy can only get us so far because talk therapy is just talking. So we have to be able to go through the process of the talk therapy, but also releasing the energy in the body. So this is where feminine embodiment comes, this practice. So it's a daily practice that women get to do, is private on their own. And what it is it has you able to experience an emotion and feel the emotion and be able to release the emotion through music and movement and sound. So when you're in this feminine embodiment, so what I have is I have a program that I take these women through. And in my program, I already give them like a playlist of like 100 songs. It's very tribal, and it's really tribal. It allows you to, move, and you have to resonate to what you feel good. But what happens here, I have found after doing this work for so long, this is probably the one thing that actually helps women release that energy and move forward, because they're able to feel it through their body and get it out. And that practice also is so amazing because it also allows, there's different ways to use it. It also allows women to call in and feel and manifest in a way that they can bring that energy. So that's the work that I'm doing right now, because really, my overall work is really helping women, completely fall in love with themselves and the people they love and really attract their soul line partner. That's what I'm all about right now, and have the most amazing relationships, because it's possible. That's where I'm at now. I have this relationship. I'm like, hey, if I can be in this relationship, oh my goodness, it's possible for everyone.
I know. And you have to forgive yourself for living those years where you weren't letting it in, right? That's part of it, is like, we didn't know. So have compassion for yourself.
We didn't know, but you don't know. You can't, it's not your fault. Yes, it's not your fault. I tell women, I say, listen, there's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken.
Right.
It was just information that you didn't know. And that's the majority of us. No one teaches this stuff.
Right. And it's so powerful to move. You have to move to release the blocks. You
Yes.
have to have the
Yes.
intention for the healing, and you put them in that state. And then, the other thing was that the movement and the music, it takes us out of our head and out of language. And like you said, it brings us into our feminine, and,
It
just
brings you into the
soul.
body, and you get to feel.
Mm-hmm.
You get to feel again. Yeah, I call that the forgotten skill. The forgotten skill. Because when a woman is in touch with her body, everything starts shifting. Everything starts shifting. There's a true peace and calmness, because you're like, you don't even have to think. You're like, oh, you know what I mean? You're like, I got this. It's so powerful. It's so powerful to really be in touch with your feminine. It's so powerful to get back into that. And it's so powerful to go through life as in that energy, because that will help you way more than trying to think it through. I'm telling you right now, from the bottom of my heart. You know what I mean? It will help you.
Yeah, and that's what makes it sensual. That's the key to sensuality, is just being fully present, and just, it doesn't have to be with a partner. You can be sensual smelling a flower. I talk about in my book, you can be sensual washing the dishes. Like, you got suds and you got, it's just
Fully
awesome.
present.
Like soap and water. It's like,
No,
what about bubbles? Like, let's go,
totally. Yes,
So
yes,
I love how you shared so intimately about your path and the people that you're helping. I mean, you're just bringing such joy and authenticity to and empowerment, like you said.
yes,
That's your passion, and I really feel that, and I honor that in you, and
yes,
I add
yes.
to it. I just yes,
Oh, thank you.
it is.
Good stuff, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's good stuff. You and I are sharing the same stuff here. We're really like it makes so much sense.
Right. And when you're ready to be like you're dating, and like you said, you should know really quickly if the person you're with is in that masculine energy, and you can just move on if they're not. But if they're
Correct.
meeting those needs that if in your heart you feel it, like, because when you're with the wrong person, like I serial dated from 15 on, like I had serial
Right.
boyfriends, and I knew the ones that
Right.
weren't but going to be the ones, like,
Correct. Yes.
follow your
Yeah.
intuition,
Yeah.
be in touch with how you're feeling. You might feel your stomach go. They might be rude to a waitress, and you're like,
Right.
that's not okay. Like,
No, that's not okay. Oh my God, you're just like literally. Oh my God, this is so awesome. We're having this conversation.
segue.
So the fourth principle. So I wasn't going to go here, but so dating. Okay. So I have this program. It's called Chosen, and it's a program for single women to go through to do the work and really find their person. So when they go through this program and they get to, they really get, this is what they hear, and this is what I get. And I'm going to tell you about the one that you said about dating. When they go through this program, they are able to go through this work and do, really learn polarity. And what I love about this program, one of the best things, that they come out loving men. Oh my God, they have such a different respect because I teach them about men. I teach them the reality of men. I teach them what they go through. I teach them really what's happening. I teach them to really like partner up, partner up with the guys. Okay. And because we can repel the jerks. I teach women how to repel the jerks. It's really easy, actually. And so it's really easy when you're in touch with your body. So we get to do all
Mm-hmm.
that. Then I tell you, then the second frame is all the limiting beliefs, right? So they get to learn the limiting the beliefs, and they get to really see who they are and why they are, why they do what they do, why, they've been doing what they do. A lot of women have been in survival mode. Okay. Seriously, there's no fault to them. A lot of women have dealt with jerks, abuse, all of it. So they are at a place right now, they're like, hello, they're like, hey. So they have this different aspect of reality. So they get to learn why they feel and what they've been through. Then the third one, which is feminine embodiment, which I threw throughout the whole practice because it's really learning how to get your intuition, get back into your body and not be up in your head. And then once you do that work, guess what happens? Oh, this is the best part. Oh my God, they go crazy over this. They learn how to date. Okay. For the first time in their lives, women learn how to date because they didn't understand what dating was about. So I teach conscious dating. And conscious dating is really understanding what it is that you are wanting, what it is that, your body feels good, because you got to trust your body, and really taking your time to meet different people. Because when you take your time and you don't put all your eggs in a basket, because this is how women date these days and it's not working, and they're ending up with guys that they're not happy with. And they're like, why am I stuck with this guy? What the hell just happened? And he didn't even ask me to be his girlfriend. And I'm already assuming that we're in a relationship, and he's still dating other women because men know how to date. And we're like, what's going on? So I slow everything down for women. I slow it down. And dating, I teach women how to date. I teach women how to be empowered and really be in their feminine. And women, I always say this, it truly is, you guys, if we're talking heterosexual relationships, it really, really, really is a man's job to chase and a woman's job to set the pace. We get to set the pace. The guy's gonna come. Like, you get yourself a masculine man, he gonna be like, I like you, I'm into you. And then you as a woman get to be like, oh, not so much. You know what I mean? Like, calm down. Calm. Or you as a woman, you get to be like, yes, yeah, I like you too. I like you too. So I teach women how to really find their person. And you know how you do it? You chill out and you relax and you date. I call it the dating funnel. You date 3 different people at one time. And I know you're like, what the? Remember, we're not sleeping with people. We're not getting married. We're not making them our boyfriend. So why wouldn't you, as a single woman, want to get to know different men? Because once you get to know different people and you're not having any expectations anymore, and you're not going on dates like a job interview, and you're not going on dates and saying, oh, is this the one? Is this the one? No. When you're allowing your intuition and you're allowing yourself just to actually have fun, just to get to know people, it all shifts. You actually get to find the love of your life. And that's what I did, girl. That's exactly what I did. I shifted my energy. I learned my beliefs.
That's such great
I got
advice.
back in touch with myself, my intuition, my body. So I wasn't nervous anymore. Girlfriend, I wasn't nervous anymore. Because before I hated dating. Oh, I was like, it's the worst experience. I did not like dating. I would get so mad. And then I would go and I'm like, why do I keep doing this to myself? Every guy's and I would just go with this bad attitude. I seriously did. I was like, really, like, I was talking bad about guys. I would go with my girlfriends. I was like, oh God, Charlene, this has to change. I shifted all that and I had the time of my life. And I met amazing men. I met men that are an actual friend to this day that my current husband knows because it was like really because I was in the right energy. And even though I was attracting these cool guys, and I'm telling you, and the ones that when I was dating some guys, and ladies, let me explain something to you. You don't know any man anything. You don't know anybody anything. If you're a single human being, you can go and meet so-and-so, and then you can go and meet so-and-so. You are not committed until you decide to be in a committed relationship, until that man actually asks you to be in a committed relationship and you say yes. But until then, no one owns you. Like, you're like, I'll do my own thing. And that was so sexy to men. I didn't play games. I was just real. And they didn't need to, they didn't need to know my personal life. That wasn't none of their business. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't need to they asked me questions like, that's none of your business. We're getting to know each other. So you allow men not to think that they can just, it's just like no, because that's what men do. Men actually date. They get to know different women.
Yeah, and it's okay to be a mystery because half the time we don't even understand what we're feeling anyway. So you don't have to be an open book. You can hold your mystery and you can defer.
Nope. You can hold your mystery and you can take, yes. And so that's why I get into, so all of that. Then I teach this RAM method. And the RAM method is how to really get to know someone, because there's a process because you got to get to know them. Then you got to start relying on them. And then if you rely on them, then you can trust them. Then when you trust them, then you can commit. After you commit, then we got to get touchy.
And that's what they're working for. Don't kid yourself. They're working for that. So we have to have our boxes checked, because that's what's going to keep us interested in the long run, is that ability for them to show up.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of my husband's favorite stories, is that we just started dating, and it was my niece's baptism, and I was helping get the party going, and he's like, oh, what are you doing on Sunday? I said, well, I am going out of town for my niece's baptism. And he's like, oh, and I said, well, would you want to come? And he's like, yeah, I'd like to meet your family or whatever, and so I told him the address. This is before cell phones. We didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
I gave him the address.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I left town and gave him the address and the time.
Yeah.
He showed up, but I wasn't there because I was getting ready for the party. He's always 20 minutes early. He's always early.
He showed up
He showed up
before
before
you.
me, got to meet my
Yeah.
parents before I could introduce him. And yeah, he got to help set up for the party.
The guy's already there. He's already in the family, and you're like not even there. They're like, "Who is
I
this
was picking up
guy?"
balloons and cake or whatever. Yeah, and he's showing up. So yeah, and he loves to tell that story because I wasn't going to coddle him or be like, this is my family and we're going to have a big party.
No,
And of course, if I had a cell phone, I would have texted him, "Hey, I'm running late" or whatever. But
I
it
know,
wasn't
of course.
available,
Yeah,
and I don't even know. It was at our lake house. I don't even think we had a phone at that point. I couldn't even call my parents.
you didn't have a phone. You didn't have a phone at the lake house. You're like, girl, he really had to show up. There's no way he can call.
Yeah, so it's funny. It's
Oh,
funny the
that's
defining
awesome.
moments in a relationship,
Yeah,
and people can show up or
yeah.
it could have been a fight or whatever. Evidently, he expected me to do something
Mhm.
different, but I showed up with love and appreciation that he was
Right.
there, and it all works
Yes.
out. But like you said, you
Oh,
can learn a
and
lot
all worked
in the
out.
in the first few months, and it's an adventure.
Oh, I tell people take their time. Just, take their time because actually, when you're getting to know, when you're dating and you are actually having, you're having that connection with that person, and you're having the I call the dance. The dance is like, oh yeah, this is nice. This is nice. Enjoy it. Don't rush this. Actually, don't rush this because, especially with men. Let me explain something to you guys about men. Men are going to show up their best. So as when you're meeting a man, just hear me out here. I'm not telling. I really don't understand this. When you're meeting a man and he's showing up in the beginning, that is the ceiling as good as he's going to get. That's the ceiling because he's not going to be showing up halfway. He's going to show up his true self. So what happens is women think, oh, okay, oh, well, maybe. They're like, he's good, but you know what? He needs a
No,
little work.
no, no,
Or women really start playing the role.
no.
Yeah, yes, this is what they do. Or they start playing the role of like the therapist, or they start playing the role like the mother, or they start playing like he needs, they need to help him. So if when you are already doing this is not your guy, and I'm telling you right now from the bottom of my heart, it's not going to work because you got to believe, you got to accept the person for who they are. So when you're meeting a man and he's showing up the ceiling, that's it, girlfriend. That's as good as it's going to get. So what you're going to do is you're going to give it time. You're going to get to know him. You're going to meet his people. You got to meet his people because his people will give you a good sense of who this man is. And then you got to allow, if this is the one that you're really falling for, we're not committing yet, we're really falling for him. Remember, we're dating other people, but let's say we have one that we're really juicy about. Then you got to allow yourself to take that man and meet your people. Because right now we don't know where your phermones and all your hormones are going, and when that's being flared up, it's going to really actually, like scientists and we have learned, when that is activated, when you're attracted to someone or when you sleep with someone and you get that activation, automatically it is going to stop critical thinking. Hear me again.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to, this is why I tell people, be really, really careful because everyone's like, oh my God, this is the best I've ever had. Calm down. Okay, this is everybody. This is what happens with chemicals. And so when this happens, we had the studies of the brain. So when we have the regular brain, so this is the regular brain, it's like functioning like this. And then all of a sudden, when you have oxytocin, all those beautiful hormones start happening. You know what happens to your brain? It goes, and it actually shrinks. If you can look at it, you can look it up. It actually shrinks, and the critical thinking is gone out the window. So when I talk about intuition and when I talk about how the body feels, when you slow down and you allow yourself to bring that man around your people, and if you're up in that, in the, he's perfect, there's no perfect, that your people can see things that you're not going to be able to see. So trust this, okay? Trust this. And when your people, if your people say, oh, hell to the no, trust it. Trust it. Don't think that you know better. Trust it. That's the whole point of having real people in your life that you can count on. Okay. I'm serious. So when your people can say to you, Mama, something's not right. I can't explain it. He looks gorgeous. He's saying all the right words. Something is off. It's because you're not able to, your trust picture is not there. So that's what I tell women. I said, just slow down. You're not going to have to end up with something that you don't want. Because if you take your time and you do the right process, you'll actually, as time goes by, really get to see who this man is really about. Because it's not about what they say. It's about what they do. And so you're going to learn his actions, not his words.
And you deserve to have that proven to you.
You should. You should. That's why women need to take their time. They need men to, I always tell women, choose great men from the beginning. Take your time. Don't rush this. Don't settle. You don't have to, because there's no, like, you have choices in life. You have choices. You don't, just because you're dating the one guy and you're on a dating app and then you go on a date with, this is what women do. I'm like, what are you doing? You're on a dating app and you go on a date and you have a connection with the guy. Then you get off the dating app. Are you kidding me? How can you get off the dating app if you just went on 2 dates with the guy? Mm-hmm. You don't know this guy. Can I tell you a story real quick? I don't know how much time we have. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Why I teach the RAM method, which is how you really get to know someone. I'm going to tell you why. Because I've said to you, when we meet someone, especially as women, okay, and we're like, so when we meet someone, what I call is already, depending on the dialogue and what we're having with that person, we already have this picture view of what we think that person is, not necessarily who that person is. And this is how it happens. So you're a single woman, your girlfriend invites you to it. I'm going to give you an example. So you're a single woman and your girlfriend says, hey, mama, I'm having a party. And you're like, cool, let's go for it. So she said, come over, I'm having a party. I'm just going to have some people over. And, just come over, mama, come over. You're like, okay, cool. So you're not thinking anything. You're not thinking you're going to meet a man. You're not thinking anything. You're like, I'm just going to my girlfriend's party. You go to the party. You're at the party and you're walking around. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, you see this guy. And for you, you're like, holy moly. And all your body starts tingling. You're like, oh, he is so good looking. What is up with that? And so all of a sudden you get excited. You're like, oh, this is a good looking man. Oh, okay. So all of a sudden this good looking man comes, talks to you. And you're like, hi. And he's like, hi. And you guys just have this amazing conversation. You're like, holy hell. Not only he's good looking, damn, he has a good conversation. And then all of a sudden the guy has this sense of humor. And then you're like, oh my God, he has a sense of humor like my dad. Oh my God, this is a match made in heaven. Oh my, this is perfect. So then you're like, remember, this is what happens. This is what happens to people. So then you're like, oh my God, he has a sense. Oh my God, he must be a good guy. He has literally, like a personality, kind of like my dad. And my dad's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man. And his personality kind of reminds me of my dad. He's a great guy. Okay. So then all of a sudden, so now you're ready, your picture frame is thinking that he's kind of like your dad because he has the same, whatever. So now you're like, oh yeah, this is good man. So then you ask him, what do you do for a living? He tells you, I'm a pediatrician. Oh, holy hell. You're a pediatrician? Now you as a woman, you're thinking, oh shit, he loves kids. I won the lottery. So now you guys go in the back room and you guys start getting all into each other and you're like, you're kissing him and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. He's good looking. He's funny. He's a pediatrician. He loves kids. I know who this man is. I got my picture frame on who he is. Bullshit. So let me tell you what happens. So anyway, so now you commit to this guy. Okay, I'm just saying, now you commit to this great guy. All of a sudden, this is what women do. They go on a couple days. Now they're like, I'm your girlfriend. And then this is what's going to happen. This is what usually happens. How about this? You're noticing, look, time is going by. You're like, huh. Because you remember, you're all into the guy. You already slept with him. You're already all like, this is the one. I've never felt this connection in my life. This is it. We are committed. Okay. So now a couple months go by. All of a sudden, you're like, something feels weird. And you're like, yeah, you know what I've noticed? He's really kind and nice when we're out. But God, he's kind of an asshole when when we're by each other. And God, I really noticed something. He's really Mr. Talkative. And Mr. Like everyone loves him when we're out. But he's not talking to me when we're home. Huh. And then a couple months go by and you get a call from your girlfriend. And she says to you, hey, mama, you know that guy that you're dating? You're like, yeah. Have you looked at him up? You're like, why, what's up? Yeah, do you know that he's been fired from 3 of the places that he's been a pediatrician, and he doesn't even have his full pediatrician license because he was abusing kids? And you're like, all of this because you decided as a person that you thought that you knew who this person was just based on a moment. That's not true. Nobody knows anybody. You only know people when you give it time. And so that's what I'm trying to teach now. I'm trying to teach people, you don't need to rush. You don't need to commit to something that you are not truly feel alignment with. Because when you give it time, you actually get to know people. You do. You get to see patterns. You get to see in time. If that man in time is treating you with kindness and respect, girl, you got this. You're in a good position. If in time the guy's being an asshole and he's disrespecting you, leave, go, walk away. You don't change anybody. You're not going to change anybody. You don't need to do any of that. You're a grown-ass woman. We're not here to fix people. We're not here to be patient with that. No, 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 because we're dating. Then you walk away and you go on to the next one. And that's how you do it. And that's how you find your soul-aligned partner. And that's what I did. And I found the perfect person for me. Maybe not for you, mama, but for me. You know what I mean? Like we all want something a little different, right? I got my man.
Yeah,
you have their person. Yeah.
We all want something different.
So I help people find their person.
Right. It's just it's an enlightening, just wonderful concept that you're beyond a relationship coach. It's the whole thing. And, I applaud you because you took something that was a weakness and, you felt abandoned, like you showed your heart and he's like, no, but you took that and you're like, I could have seen the signs. Yep. Next time I will see the signs. And you did. Yep. And you let yourself heal. And
thank you. I have a webinar that is explain in detail this work. So I would definitely, if this is something you're interested in, you can always DM me, you can email me and let me know when I can make sure I send you the link to this webinar. It's literally coming out next week. It's so excited for this. It's an actual true training for women to take the time for themselves and to learn this. And it's just so powerful. It's my gift to them. It's my gift to you guys.
I adore our time together and just, I feel like,
I adore our time together. I feel like we're best friends now.
It's so fun sharing the adventure and, it's the gooey and, just be attached to your heart because your heart is there.
Mm-hmm. And like you and I talked about in the beginning, because really when it does come down to it, I mean, people truly long for real connection, to get real, right? To be able to be who they are with another human being. That to me is the most ultimate gift. Like, why would you want anything else? Why would you ever want to have to fake it? Why would you ever not have to be yourself?
Gift. Thank you so much. I do appreciate all this. And I look forward to our next connection. I feel like you're one of my soul sisters, warriors for love.
Yes. Oh, you're my soul sister. We're going to connect again. I might have you come to my group. And we can do a live there because, women love to hear, I love to bring other women on and they share their journey and their stories because we're all in it together. Like really, we're all in it together and we all have gone through these journeys, right? So I get it. You get it. I get it. I'm not better. I'm not less. I'm just, just the woman trying to do the best I can.
Just where you are in your path. And I'd be honored to do a live with you. I've done a few. They're a blast. I've done from 15 minutes to an hour. So it's really magical what comes out in those lives. All right. Well, thanks again. I'm going to wrap it up so you can move on to your next thing. But again, so much love and appreciation.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
It's fun, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's really neat. Yeah, we definitely. Yeah, it's really cool.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, you can go to my website and make any comments, suggestions, just share anything that's on your heart about any of the episodes. If you visit www.youneedapeptalk.com, you can find every episode and feel free to share. Your subscription to my podcast really matters, so if you can subscribe, share, go to Apple and rate my podcast, that really helps my listenership and gets my message out to as many people as possible. So I do appreciate that. And as always, enjoy each day, as each moment is a chance to create the life of your dreams. Take care.